The regular meeting of the Milton Board of Zoning Appeals for Tuesday, May 20th has been called to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3 this evening's introduction of board members. Beginning on my left,
Billy Carmen.
Adam Danella.
Hodge Patel,
Lauren Holmes.
Nick Horton.
and Zach Middlebrooks and Zach Stafford are not at this evening's meeting. Item 4 is approval of the agenda. I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda as published by the City of Milton.
Second.
Got a motion from Hodge and a second from Adam to approve tonight's agenda as published by the City of Milton. Any discussion? Seeing that there's no discussion, I'll call for a vote on the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Item 5 is approval of past meeting minutes. I'll seek a motion to approve the April 15th, 2025 meeting minutes as published by the City of Milton.
Second.
What?
Who's got it?
Did you
Who
make
did
a
it first?
motion?
I didn't make a motion on it.
You did or no?
I did not.
I'll make a motion to approve the, what are we at? The
Past meeting
April
minutes.
15th, 2025 past meeting minutes as published.
Second.
Get a motion from Adam and a second from Lauren to approve the April 15th, 2025 meeting minutes as published by the City of Milton. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Item 6 this evening is consideration of primary variances. The Board of Zoning Appeals is a quasi-judicial board comprised of resident volunteers of the City of Milton. The board is charged with hearing requests for variances from the standards of the Unified Development Code, or UDC, and appeals of administrative determination. With regard to decisions on primary variances, the board's basis for decision is provided by these 4 considerations. A, relief if granted would not offend the spirit or intent of the UDC. And B, there are such extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property that the literal or strict application of the UDC would create an unnecessary hardship due to size, shape, or topography, or other extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions not caused by the variance applicant. And C, relief if granted would not cause a substantial detriment to the public good and surrounding properties. And D, the public safety, health, and welfare are secured and the substantial justice is done. The first primary variance this evening is V25-12, and the address is 14507 Cogburn Road. This is a 6-part variance. Michael, will you please present?
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
Evening.
Hi. B2512, the applicant owner is Brenda Ely, and the representative is Scott Reese, and the address is 14507 Cogburn Road. Site is a 1.472 acre flag lot located on the west side of Cogburn Road. The property is zone AG1 and located in the rural Milton overlay district. Applicable setbacks for the lot are a 60-foot front, 2 25-foot sides, and a 50-foot rear setback. The applicant is seeking the following variances. Section 3.14A UDC to reduce the 60 feet minimum front yard to 56 feet for existing building and accessory structure. Section 3.14B UDC to reduce the 25 feet minimum side yard to 22.7 feet adjacent to the north property line for existing building accessory structure. Section 3.14B UDC to reduce the 25-foot minimum side yard to 14.63 feet adjacent to the south property line for an existing building accessory structure. Section 225C1 UDC to reduce the 1.5 acres minimum flag lot size to 1.472 acres for an existing property. Section 225C2 UDC to increase the 10% maximum flag stem area of total lot size to 13.41% for an existing property. And finally, Section 811C2 UDC to allow accessory structure uses to not be constructed concurrently with or after a principal use. Here is the aerial map. The subject site is in red, and the blue area is not part of the variance scope, and I'll expand on that later in the presentation. Here is Cogburn Road. And to the south is the Linden Creek subdivision. The flag lot has a depth of 823 feet and a width of 205 feet as shown in the variance site plan in Exhibit A. Here's a zoom in of the site plan showing the flag lot. The subject site on 14507 Cobham Road was originally a 3.032 acre flag lot owned by the applicant as detailed in the Brenda Ely minor plat approved by Community Development Department and recorded with Fulton County on October 23rd, 2018, as shown in Exhibit B. Lot 1 is the green lot. Lot 2 is the purple lot. And finally, in red is the former 3-acre parcel from the 2018 minor plat. On December 4th, 2023, the Community Development Department approved a final plat revision for Georgia Tennessee Development Partners, LLC, that was recorded with Fulton County, which incorporated 1.56 acres of the lower portion of 14507 Congborough Road into the adjacent Linden Creek subdivision, as shown in Exhibit C. The remaining 1.472 acre flag lot for 14507 Congborough Road was not represented on the 2024 Linden Creek final plat revision. So the applicant would now like to re-record the original Brenda Ely minor plat without the 1.56 acre portion of land they no longer own. The 1.5 acre flag lot size minimum and 10% flag lot stem maximum requirements were adopted by Mayor and City Council on September 6, 2023. The 2 accessory structures seeking variances predate the incorporation of the city of Milton and are used for feed and equipment storage of free-range goats and chickens on the property. Per the letter of appeal, the applicant is amenable for the variances being conditioned when a residence is permitted on this property. The existing structure shall be removed. Here are the site photos. Here is the flag stem, Cogburn Road. Here's the frontage right here, which is 35 feet. Here's the opposite view across the street from Cogburn Road. View to the west, which is the backyard. View to the south towards the side of the property facing Linden Creek subdivision. And view to the north facing the property to the north. Here's the first accessory structure. And the second accessory structure. And here's a driveway access for the property on the left-hand side, right here. This is their driveway all the way back to the property, which is a shared access easement. On May 6th, the DRB met had the following comments. DRB recommends approval of the variance request with a 5-2 vote. The board acknowledged that both accessory structures seeking setback variances predate the incorporation of the city of Milton, and both structures would be demolished if a new single-family home was ever built on the property, as detailed in the applicant's letter of appeal. The bordering property owner to the north at 14515 Cogburn Road opposed the variance request and brought up concerns regarding driveway access if a single-family home was built on the property. The subject property and 14515 Cogburn Road use a shared access easement for both properties. City staff stated the 2018 Brenda Ely minor plat was approved conditionally for 2 driveway accesses for all 3 lots within the minor plat, and there are currently 2 driveway accesses in use. The property to the north, 14515 Cogburn Road, is not part of the Brenda Ely minor plat. The board stated this situation was convoluted, which involved the variance applicant, Linden Creek subdivision developer, and city staff. The board acknowledged the original 3.032 acre flag lot met code requirements in 2018 prior to the lower portion of 14507 Cogburn Road being added to the Linden Creek subdivision. The board concluded their discussions with a recommendation approval of 5-2, vote for all 6 variance requests. And if approved, staff recommends the following conditions. Per the variance site plan from Brumble Reese and Associates Incorporated, received on April 4th, 2025 by the Community Development Department, and the 2 accessory structures shall receive community development demolition permits, design and reboard demolition approval, and removed prior to the issuance of a future single-family home building permit. Any questions for staff?
Michael, can you go to the site plan and then walk us through the location of the accessory structures for the variances, as well as because it's a flag lot, what is considered the front? And what's
Absolutely.
considered the side and the rear on that lot?
So here's the zoomed in version. So the front setback begins when you have 150 feet of lot width. So essentially the width of the lot minus 60 feet from this edge right here is where the front setback begins. It doesn't begin at the street or along the stem because there's no buildable area in the stem. And you have the first accessory structure encroaching the front and side setback. The second accessory structure just encroaching the side setback.
And where your cursor is that which one is that? Is that looks like to be a garage type unit that your cursor's over? or
This is the
that-
brown one right
Okay.
here, and the garage unit is here
Got it.
with the concrete driveway.
Got it.
That
Thank
powder
you.
blue.
Mhm.
And the current uses for those structures right now?
Feed
Feed.
and storage for goats and chickens.
Okay.
No primary residence is on site.
I have a question about the driveway issue.
Mhm.
The stem that runs from Cogburn back to that property, the red long stem, will they have to move their driveway over there to access the property, or they still share that existing driveway?
Well, they do have access already, if you follow my cursor,
Right,
through the minor plat.
okay.
So,
So that'll still be a shared driveway.
correct.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff?
Yeah, you said the DRB mentioned that the 3-acre flag lot met the code requirements in 2018 prior to the lower portion being added to the Linden Creek subdivision, but it was also, even after that was sold to the Linden Creek subdivision, I mean, it still met the criteria for a flag lot prior to just the more recent 2023 revision. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, in September 2023, that's the 1.5 acre requirement went into play and the minimum stem requirement.
Okay. So when this was done, whether it had the blue portion as we see or not, it still would have been fine as it sits. It would have been approved.
Yes, if this happened prior to September 2023.
Gotcha.
And I think that variance request is for, call it 1,100 square feet roughly.
Mm-hmm.
2,800's of an acre.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Michael? Thank you, Michael. How many people do we have wishing to speak in favor and in opposition?
Applicant, Mr. Scott Reese, and then we have 2 that would like to, actually just 1 that wants to speak in opposition and 1 that would like their comment read.
Okay. I think we're good with 10 minutes. We'll have a combined 10 minutes for the applicant to make an opening presentation, public comment from anyone wishing to speak in favor, and a closing statement from the applicant. There will also be 10 minutes for public comment in opposition. Will the applicant come forward at this time? Please state your name and address for the record and present your application. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Scott Reese of Brumlow Reese and Associates doing business at 13685 Highway 9, Milton, Georgia, 30004. I'm here tonight representing Brenda Ely in her application for variances to bring her property into zoning compliance. Ms. Ely contacted me a few months back. Her taxes were in error. And I have the Fulton County tax map in front of you. And it shows that her property being owned by the Linden Creek subdivision. So how did that happen? Well, there was a division of property that occurred outside of the normal scope of doing business. So I'm sure you're aware, anytime you combine or divide property in the city of Milton, since its inception, you have to go before and perform a subdivision plat. There are different levels of subdivisions, minor, major, large lot. But you cannot legally subdivide or combine a piece of property without going through the city of Milton process. So the Ely's contacted me sometime back when the Linden Creek subdivision was being proposed, that the developer had contacted them about purchasing a portion of their property to expand or enhance their subdivision. They gave them examples of how they would incorporate their property into the subdivision. You can see the property we're discussing is kind of highlighted in orange. The red is the strip that got sold off. So they were proposing several different ideas that would allow them to divide the property and have access. So there were several iterations, and it never really came to pass the way it was supposed to. Linden Creek purchased the property and did not go through the division process. Somehow or other, this property was incorporated into the subdivision, Linden Creek, without the remainder being caught or brought in to check that if it was compliant. As Michael spoke earlier, the 2018 minor subdivision plat created this lot. It's been in existence since that time. If the configuration that it exists now was created at that time, it would have been compliant with all the zoning conditions. But the rules changed during this process. The Elys were under the impression that this was being handled by the buyer, and that was their shortcoming in not knowing all the rules and ordinances. And I dare say few people in the city of Milton would know all of the ramifications of selling a piece. So they're now stuck. Their taxes are messed up, and they have a non-conforming, non-buildable lot. So we're here tonight to bring this lot into compliance. The variances being requested are reduction of 0.28 acres. 1.47 versus 1.5, a very small amount. The stem portion is 13% as opposed to 10%. The buildings have been in existence prior to the creation of the city of Milton. The buildings were in place when all of the adjoining properties were purchased by their current owners. So we feel like that there are such extenuating circumstances in this particular case that it meets all four of the criteria for granting the variance. This is an extreme exceptional case where we had, through oversight or error, the allowance of division of property and the tacit approval of the city when they approved the Linden Creek subdivision plat. In my opinion, then they agreed to the subdivision and the creation of this now non-conforming lot. The fact that those buildings have been there before anyone purchased their properties, the adjoining, then I would think would show that there was not a overriding concern to the neighbors on a pre-existing condition. This is a very unique situation where we're having to come in and try to clean up a division after the fact that created this non-conforming lot. So I will reserve any time to try to, I guess, if the neighbors have some questions, to respond in kind. Thank you so much.
Any
Thanks.
further questions for Scott, all good?
No,
Thank you,
Well
Scott.
articulated, thank you.
Mr. Reese, thanks. Michael, do you want to call the first person that would like to
Mr.
speak in support?
Yes, opposition, we have Mr. Ed Phillips.
Okay. Anyone in favor?
No.
No? Okay. Good evening. If you can just state your name and address for the record, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely. Good evening. Good evening. I'm Ed Phillips. I'm representing my father. I'm his son and obviously power of attorney. He is the adjoining property at 14515 Cogburn Road. I spoke at the Design Review Board meeting. I realized what the results were from that meeting, but I just want to note here on public record, I've been in contact with all the members via email in Linden Creek with basically lots 1 through 4, where, could you put the site plan up if you don't mind? So I could kind of give them a visual.
There we go.
Yep,
Shows back a lot.
Thank you.
It would be helpful if you use the cursor to show us specifically what you want us to look at on the plan.
Yes.
Thanks.
So let me see if I
I think the
can.
mouse.
Mouse right here. Okay, got it. Okay. So the challenge, so basically, if you can see the cursor moving right here, I basically have been in contact with the Linden Creek owners. That's basically the lots 1 through 4 here. Obviously, they do not want to have a driveway behind their homes. Now, obviously, there was a conversation of only having 2 driveways. That was completely flushed out during the last meeting. This would obviously be a 3rd driveway. The challenge here really in the discussion is ultimately on the existing driveway that would get to the property. And let me just kind of highlight that right here. As noted by Michael, there's an easement on that particular property. That easement is between my father and basically this 14505 property right here. It was signed back in 1989 when my father bought the property. And ultimately, it's just simply an easement between those 2 parties to share that driveway. Now, obviously, that driveway has been expanded. There's been a curb put down the middle. But still, at the same time, there is an easement in place. The only way to access what is this property back here, ultimately right now, is that easement driveway. My father, he's sitting right back here. He turns 90 next month. And through a discussion with him, he's like, the last thing I want is more traffic on an easement driveway next to my property. And that's one of our major concerns here, is ultimately creating more traffic from an easement driveway. Secondly, I think as we kind of look over at the overall layout of the property, the owners of Lot 1 are sitting behind me. They built a beautiful home right here. Obviously, they do not want to have a driveway next to their home or go past their swimming pool. So that's a major concern that they have. But I think more than anything here is we're stacking 3 homes right on top of each other. You've got a beautiful home in Lot 1, obviously the residents of the Elys in Lot 2 here, and then once again at Lot 3. Visually, it just doesn't look good. I have a lot of my coworkers that drive by here, and the question that constantly comes up, beautiful home in Lot 1, what's happening to Lot 2? Is it going to be bulldozed? Like most of the lots that you'll see up Cogburn and, in a new home built, obviously that's not the case. The Elys plan to live there, obviously, to continue to live there. And I just think adding another home site approval here is really going to damage the overall purpose, the reason my dad moved to Milton in 1989. We left downtown Alpharetta for a reason. That's so that we could actually have space and a view and not have to deal with homes stacked on top of each other. And that's exactly what's happening right here. I will note, and I'll get a little granular here, we are not concerned about the existing buildings and the variance there. So basically the first 3 variants here, basically the 3 sections, we're not concerned about those. That's fine. Those were existing buildings, obviously, before Milton was established. Not concerned about those. We simply just do not want another building site here. After talking with basically residents in Linden Creek, they're opposed to it. Obviously, my father's opposed to it. And there's a statement that's going to be read by the owners of Lot 1. We just find that this is too much in a small area. And secondly, I really think the driveway issue is going to be a bigger issue than it is, because an issue has come up before with the Elys about the driveway. It almost led to legal related actions having to be taken due to them forcing an issue on my father that I had to work through. And I know that issue will probably turn back up, and I just don't want to have to go through that. I really am just asking, please really consider the people around this property, how hard they've worked to earn these properties, and what it will do to the property values if we stack another home on top of this. And I'll pause there for any questions or comments.
So I have a question about the driveway itself. I mean, you said it's been expanded. There's a curb right down the middle of it.
There is.
Do you know where the easement is in relation to the curb?
The easement technically.
Because it's going to be, if they've expanded, it's going to be somewhere on the pavement, but there's an easement. Obviously, it's not shown on here where the easement would be.
Let me specifically answer that question. So when they bought the property, the driveway was expanded 4 feet on both sides. So answering your question directly, that curb is on the Ely side. Ultimately, the most of the curb is on the Ely side. We had to expand on our side as well, like I said, but basically both sides were basically expanded. So unfortunately, that easement goes down the middle of the driveway.
And how far does the curbing go down the driveway?
The curb goes all the way to the end, past their house right here, and all the way there's a garage right here that my dad has. It goes all the way to the end of that.
Okay.
And then there's a fence back there, is that right?
I'm sorry?
There's a fence along that line
Where the curbing
where the
stops?
curb stops.
What's behind that, where it stops, I guess is the question.
There's wood, I would say 6x6s separating the property that the Ely's previous owner put in, and it basically divides the property very clearly. Probably from this point right here, I would say down to a little bit past this building right here. This is the bluish building that Michael was showing just a few moments ago. It kind of divides the property here, and then there's a separate fence here basically for livestock to basically be held in.
So if you can, the curb that divides the driveway, that's down the property line?
It is.
Okay, so their driveway is on their property, and your father's driveway is on his. So
Correct.
So there's no way to cross over because of the curb.
Correct.
2 separate drives. Okay.
Now, the physical asphalt is connected together, just to be
Right, but there is a
clear.
curb. So yeah, you're on this driveway, you have to jump the curb to get across
Yeah, so-
to the other property.
If there was a situation wherein the easement says if one party decides to basically go their own way with the driveway, then they have to obviously appropriately have it cut and
Right.
leave the other owner in good shape.
But then they would be on your property as opposed to their very own property.
Right.
Okay.
So as I'm sure you're aware, this plat was laid out three parcels back in 2018. Did y'all by any chance come out and try to fight flag lots in 2023?
We were not made aware of that at that time. We did not receive anything in the mail, and we were not aware of what was going on at that time. It wasn't brought to our attention that that was actually occurring. We saw surveying being done. A question was asked, what was the surveying for? And the response from the Elys was ultimately they were doing something related to septic tanks, was a response to my father. So there wasn't anything mentioned, hey, we're dividing our property up for multiple lots and to get it approved through the city of Milton. None of that was mentioned. I'm going on public record on camera saying that.
Sure. Yeah, and obviously that would have been allowable. It was allowable at the time, and
Sure.
It was allowed at a much smaller size at the time.
Exactly.
I'm not a big fan of flag lots personally, so but that's where we're at.
Thanks, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Michael, is there anyone else wishing to speak?
So we have another person in opposition. We have Zydrunas and Iveta Rybachowskini. They do not want to speak, so I'm going to read their comment. They said, we do not want to have a driveway on the left side of our property, 14503 Cogburn Road. There is one existing driveway on the right.
So they're the green lot, and I'd like to clarify from the opposition.
You'll need to come up to the,
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Just give us your name and address. Yeah.
Iveta Rybachowskini, 14503 Cogburn Road, Milton, Georgia 30004. So I'm probably confused you with those right and left hand sides. What I did, I just looked at my house, in front of my house, and we do have, driveway, which Mr. Phillips talked about. So we do have existing kind of wide driveway, like on the right-hand side, if I look at in front of my house. And we kind of have like I would say, a lot of trees, nice trees, and deer coming, like nature on our left-hand side of the house, and where is our fences. And just after we find out that Mr. Eli wants to build driveway, we kind of, we don't want that. If they do have existing driveway, why do we need? Because from our house, we also have a driveway. So basically on the front of Cogburn Road, we will have 3 driveways, and I would say what is I don't know, 150 feet or so, and 3 driveways. I just don't feel it makes a lot of sense of that. That's it. Thank you.
thank you.
That's it for public comment.
for public comment.
I can address the driveway comment
Sure.
if you'd like. So the 2018 Brenda Ely plat was approved for 2 total driveways. Actually,
Can you pull it up on the site plan for us? Can you pull the site plan up as
Yeah.
you're talking through it? Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm a visual person.
Absolutely. Thought about that halfway through. All right. I think this might be better. Could you see their driveway? So here's driveway 1, which is the applicant that just spoke. That's their driveway. So these 2 lots share this driveway right here. So 1, 2 total driveways. My understanding is the applicant is not proposing a new driveway. They're just going to use the existing driveway that is at that location. Because Public Works stated that this plat was approved for 2 driveway accesses, and that's what currently is proposed. I just want to clarify that.
So the front parcel has a driveway in front of the house. And then the right side of the property from Cogburn, if you're standing on Cogburn, has one driveway that goes to the second house. And then that would go to the third parcel as well.
That
And
is correct.
That was what was on the 2018 site plan.
Correct. And what the green area, lot 1 in the front, was stating that they were trying to propose a driveway along the stem,
Okay.
which my understanding is not what the applicant is proposing and wouldn't meet code.
Right. Wouldn't mean code. Okay.
Mhm.
And so help me understand the code between the 2018 flag lots and the property and what the current requirements are
Or flag lots or just driveway access?
for flag lots.
Yeah, so in September 2023, the flag lot minimum size increased from 1 acre to 1.5. And then we also made a max stem requirement. And the thought process was not to allow a 2,000-foot long stem and then a smaller area at the end. So it was 10% of the whole lot could be the stem.
Okay.
So those 2 parameters were added.
And this was conforming in 2018 before the change until this whatever property sale. And then now they're asking for the variance is for the whole unit size of, what is it again?
1.472.
1.472.
Yeah.
I have a question about the easement. The driveway easement now is to keep from having another driveway on the other side of the property, can that easement ever be, I mean, is it a public easement for access to that back property lot? I know easements are accessible to have access, so that can't be changed?
I know that's through the county when you go through an access easement. I do know the city can limit the number of driveways
Right.
on a plat. So any change would have to be through Fulton County, but Public Works has the say on how many curb cuts you have
Right.
on a certain number of lots.
Okay.
And I'll just say my assumption was when this was done, there were 2 lots and the shared easement was to each lot.
Well, thanks, Michael. Mr. Reese, we've got 4 minutes and 20 seconds if you'd like to come back up and make any closing remarks. And if you can address some of the items that were mentioned by those speaking in opposition, appreciate it.
So hopefully we can clarify a little misinformation or misunderstanding. So City of Milton ordinance, any parent parcel is limited to 2 access points. So this property per ordinance is not allowed a 3rd driveway. We would have to go before several boards to get that approval. We are not seeking that. So any discussion of a driveway in that southern stem is false. So there is on the recorded plat a statement and a recorded easement that allows access through the driveways you see on the screen with the concrete curb. Formerly had a chain link fence on top of the chain link curb, and the neighbors were able to calm the waters enough to remove the fence. So any driving access to these properties will occur on their side of the property line on the existing driveways. All right, so the new flag lot criteria. Look at this is the new 2023. A flag lot should be a minimum of 1.5 acres in size, except where an existing structure is to remain. We have a structure to remain on this. My opinion was I shouldn't have to be here. The community development director disagrees and says that does not mean structure, it means residence. I'm sorry, I have to go by the way it's written. The Elys do not have the wherewithal to go through a lawsuit to pursue this. I'm hoping that calmer minds will understand the difference between 1.47 and 1.5 and the fact that this lot has been existing since 2018. I can only go by what's written here, and it does say structure, it does not say residence, and that's straight out of the Milton ordinance book. So I really think that the fact that the city allowed the approval of the division of the plat and the recording and approval of the Linden Creek subdivision, which created this problem, needs to be addressed. And we now have a non-conforming lot that can't be developed or a permit. And the taxes are messed up, and we need to alleviate this problem. And I think the simplest way to go through is to approve these variances where I can get an amended minor subdivision plat that shows the correct description and size of this property. Thank you so much. If you have any questions about anything that you don't understand, I want to reiterate again, there are no new driveways proposed in any of this per code and per the recorded plat. The 2 driveways that are there are the driveways that will and forever be on this property.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Who owns lot 2? Who's the owner of that property?
That is the Brenda and Mike Ely.
So they own 2 and 3?
Yes.
Okay.
And they have 2 children. They sold lot 1 to fund their retirement, and the daughter is to get one of these lots and the son to get the other lot.
Thank you, appreciate it. Before I close the public portion, are there any questions for staff or for Paul? I'll go ahead and close the public portion of V25-12-14507 Cogburn Road and open the floor for a motion in a second.
Second.
You gotta have a motion first. You want to make a motion?
Oh, I didn't. You make the motion. I'll second it.
I'll make a motion to approve V25-12 on all 6 parts.
Second. Do you have any conditions on it?
Yes, with the
Right.
conditions that the approval is per the variant site plan from Brumble Reese and Associates, Inc., received on April 4th, 2025 by the Community Development Department, and to the 2 accessory structures shall receive Community Development Department demolition permits, design review board demolition approval, and be removed prior to the issuance of any future single-family home building permit.
Paul, for clarification on that, he made a motion and I made a second.
Just withdraw and
Wait,
second.
Can I withdraw my second?
You can renew your second as to,
Okay.
as to the restated motion.
Okay. I second based on the restated motion by Adam with the 2 conditions. Let's open it up for discussion.
Discussion. Okay. So obviously, where are my 4 things? I don't think granting these would offend the spirit or intent of the UDC. The recent revisions increase the size exponentially. This is almost, it's a much larger size, as well as does not incorporate the STEM into that number, which is important. I think there are extraordinary circumstances related to this piece of property that meets the hardship requirements. I do not think that this would be a detriment to the public good or surrounding properties based on the fact that these driveways are on their own properties. They have access. There should be no traffic other than the rear 2 lots on one driveway and the other parcel, only vehicles on that driveway. I don't foresee any issues with that. And again, this is part of the code. You can have flag lots. This is why city councils addressed this issue a couple years ago. They increased the size of it. There was a lot of communications, a lot of public comments about flag lots and whether you could allow them, not allow them, and how things should be changed, sizes, things like that. And city council chose to continue to allow them, much to my dismay. But I think that public safety, health, welfare secured, substantial justice is done under the circumstances, because this allows, proper platting of this property. It allows the tax records to be conforming, and, whatever happened with the prior developer and whatever he presented to these folks clearly didn't happen, presented something different to the city. And, this is a way of doing the right thing and getting this cleaned up the right way to help out, this particular piece of property. Otherwise, you've got a piece of property that's just sitting there that can't do anything with. And that's not what the intent was behind it.
I agree with what Adam said, but one other thing I wanted to add is that flag lot was in existence when those homes in the Linden Creek subdivision were basically platted at that point. So the adjacent property owners knew that there was a flag lot that was there.
Correct, yeah.
Any other discussion?
No.
Let's see, let me grab my, okay. I'm going to call for a vote on V25-12-14507 Cogburn Road. There's 6 parts to this variance. Adam made a motion to approve this variance with 2 conditions. And I had a second on that. The two conditions, let me read those into the record. Per the variance, site plan from Brumbelow Reese and Associates, Inc., received on April 4th, 2025 by the Community Development Department. And the second condition is that the two accessory structures shall receive Community Development Department demolition permits, Design Review Board demolition approval, and be removed prior to the issuance of a future single-family home building permit. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Item 7 on this evening's agenda is appeals of secondary variances,
None?
old business,
None?
new business.
Also none.
Item 10,
I motion to adjourn.
we had a motion from Billy,
Second.
second from Adam to adjourn. Seeing that there's no discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The motion passes unanimously.